The life of the business traveller. A new hotel bed every night. Dinners by yourself. Long lines at the airport. It can all become too much. When I'm not broadcasting...
Slice of the pie. He's very good, this chap.
I'm usually on the road.
September saw me in Colombia for a conference, then to Panama City and Newark, before crossing the Atlantic to London. I flew home to New York with barely a change of clothes and off to Atlanta for this show. By the time October got going, I was flying via Panama to Lima, Peru for the IMF meetings. Onwards it went, changing planes in New York, London and Zurich. Destination, Moscow. Finally, via Geneva, I ended up home.
I guess you could say I am truly hypermobile. The benefits of this life are obvious and enjoyable. New people, exotic places, adventures galore.
I'll see you next month.
It's the other side that's not much fun. It's tiring, lonely, and often there's a feeling, what am I doing? It's the darker side of travel that no one talks about, even as the evidence is mounting that a hypermobile life is bad for our physical, emotional, and psychological lives. The study.
It's not necessarily all it's cracked up to be.
The subject.
The toll that it takes on your personal and professional and marital life is significant.
And the doctor.
It can be very disorienting.
We begin with the study, a darker side of hypermobility, and one professor who shed a little light on the darkness of travel.
It can be lonely being on the road and alienating experience. There's all sorts of community and social and kinship impacts as well. So there's a huge range of physiological costs. If you fly just 85,000 miles a year, there is a disruption to the circadian rhythm that you get through frequent jet lag, and that has chronic effects when this builds over time. There's a higher risk of heart attack and stroke as well. There's also, of course, heightened risk of deep vein thrombosis, exposure to germs, and many more.
The reality is clear. Now we need the doctor's opinion from my colleague, Dr. Sanjay Gupta, who lives his own hypermobile life. And the appropriate place for us to meet is the world's busiest airport, Atlanta Hartsfield.
I think there is a long-term downside. I mean, if you just look at the physical part of this alone, there's the idea that you age faster, the idea that you're exposed to more radiation. That's not a huge concern, but we're exposed to more radiation. We are less likely to eat well. We're more likely to not exercise, all these types of things. Emotionally, you don't develop relationships. Marriages suffer, for example. You don't spend as much time with your kids. There's an overwhelming sense of guilt among a lot of travelers.
That's the emotional. Look at the psychological. This idea of loneliness, but it also creates an air of omnipotence. I'm traveling the world.
It creates a lot of conflict, certainly within the person, because they know what they're really experiencing. They know the isolation. But I think almost what you see is an effort to mask that by simply focusing on the glamorization. So what the outside world sees, what they think is reality, is a much different picture than what the person really inside is feeling, experiencing, and doing.
Knowing all of this, I can still hear some people saying, poor me, or poor you, poor you. So let's not worry about what other people think about us. Just now talk to the business traveller who suffers this. What do they do?
I think the biggest thing is to recognize this as being real. I think we probably all suffer from a little bit of denial. So being cognizant of it, I think it makes a big difference.
Do you still enjoy it?
You know, I think at some point it's hard to say enjoy. It's something that you can't live without.
Our case study, Brian Whitney, is playing the game and wears the trophies with pride.
So I've done about 1.6 million on Delta alone. I've been a platinum member and a diamond member since they had those levels in their systems. My travel is global.
40% of the year he's on the road for work.
Just this year alone, I've been to Europe, Asia, the Middle East, Australia.
He's tired, And yet he still keeps his hyper-mobile lifestyle, conquering continents.
It is a love-hate relationship. There's a glamour to it. There's an achievement. They've gamified the system to where you really want to earn that badge. You want to earn that diamond medallion level. You want to do that. But yet the toll that it takes on your personal and professional and marital life is significant. But yet we come back and we do this.
Now, you've just summed it up. There are many trips that you will take that you do not have to take, that you could vid conference, that you could... No, don't look at me like that.
It's very hard to get on a conference call and say, you mean a lot to me, but there's so many times where you just do have to go.
Tell me how you view your view of travel and life has shifted. And what about your wife?
It's tough. I kid her sometimes that I turn her into a single parent, but when I go on the road and I'm in Dubai or I'm in Adelaide and there's nobody else to drive carpool. There's nobody else to handle the bills she has to handle it alone.
Do you ever feel lonely on the road?
It's impossible not to feel lonely on the road. You are alone.
I'm talking about that much deeper loneliness. That 3 a.m. looking out the window and you're thinking,
what am I doing here? Why am I here?
What am I doing?
Absolutely. And it's a challenge, right? And it ebbs and flows, and you've got these massive peaks and valleys, and you're seeing amazing places, and then you realize you've got virtually nobody to share it with.
How long will you keep doing this?
There's an element as long as they let me do it, right?
Yeah, you see, that's it.
You know, but
You're your own worst enemy because we complain about it, but we don't want to stop doing it.
Well,
admit it.
Absolutely, we don't want to stop doing it. We like going out and seeing the world.
Is there a solution to the desires and dreams of the hyper-mobile life? Or are we destined to be doomed?
Any kind of video chat, screen time, being able to connect with your family, especially with my daughter and my wife, in a visual way.
I think moderation is the key word that we need to question when we do travel. Can we use virtual communications instead?
If you call your friends regularly, you call your family regularly, continue to do that if you can, even from the road.